Hey everyone, welcome back to your Dawn of Autonomy podcast. I'm Dawn Zoldi, your host and the CEO of P3 Tech Consulting. We are in a month we've dedicated to this theme of 2025 Look Ahead, sponsored by Carasoft. I have to say, I've been on the road for the last 2 weeks. It is so awesome to be home in my home office with my blue light in the background and talking today with Ned Tabat from Meadowlark Aircraft Company. And from North Dakota, we are going to talk all about this brand new company and what they're doing to look ahead for this year. You haven't maybe heard much about them yet, so this is maybe in a way their kind of coming out party, and I'm super excited to talk to Ned today and to tell you all about what's happening with his company and in North Dakota. So Ned, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much. It's exciting to be on the show. I am obviously a big fan and listen to Dawn of Autonomy every week. So it's fun to be on. And yes, this is our debut in many ways. What a great place to be, talking to Joe Rogan of the drone industry. So this is fantastic.
Oh, that is so funny that you called me that. My middle son would love that, right? He's like, Mom, you got to get on the Joe Rogan show. I'm like, pretty sure he's not going to talk to me, but thank you. What I want to do first, Ned, is tell folks a little bit about you. We've met a couple of times. I've seen you for several years at the UAS Summit in North Dakota, floating around. This year, you guys had your booth. But let's talk about you first, and then we'll talk about your company.
Yeah. So, product of state of Illinois educational system. I got all my college degrees in early 1980s from University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, PhD 1984 in electrical engineering. Off to Bell Labs. You got to be a little older to know what that is, but at the time, that was the premier research institution in the country, actually in the world. So I spent about 5 years there as they broke up the phone company and everybody started leaving for universities. I followed the script and did that. I was at the University of Wisconsin for about 10 years. And then came up to Seagate Technology and worked there. Various management roles for about 15 years. Learned a lot doing that. Learned about manufacturing and design for manufacturing and system architecture, the importance of system engineering. And so some of that is what we think is needed right now in the drone industry as it's becoming more and more mature. The volumes are rising, but flexibility has to be maintained. So I'm going to try to apply what I learned there to this industry. And so when I first came up to Grand Forks, was what, as you say, it's been several years. It was 2020, it was COVID. The state I lived in at the time. Yeah, the state I lived at the time was completely shut down. So I heard that Free State of North Dakota was open. So my wife and I drove over there just to get a cheeseburger, see some penguins and whatever they do in North Dakota. Well, it turns out there are no penguins there. It's not that.
No.
On the other hand, what we did find was a very robust and a UAS ecosystem. People who were very can-do attitude, very eager to make things work. And both the local and state government's been very, very supportive of this industry and all industries for that matter. Very pro-business. And so we decided to domicile there. Took a while to close down the other company in the non-helpful state. And we moved to North Dakota probably about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. Fits and starts. So I went from AT&T, which at the time was the largest company in the world at the start of my career, so I guess you could say it was Fortune 1, to the Army of One here about a year ago, and starting Meadowlark. And so for the coda of my professional career, I decided to do this. I actually, when I first...
I'm going to interrupt you because, all right, so you went from university, PhD, Wisconsin, and then Bell Labs. Where was AT&T in here? Was that later?
Oh, Bell
And
Labs was AT&T.
okay, gotcha. Okay, that's where
That
I'm confused. My
back
producer
back
Mike,
in
he's
back
like,
in
I know
back in
about
the
Bell
olden
Labs.
days.
Yeah,
Yeah, in the old days, there was just one phone company, and it was
and
Ma
it was
Bell. Yeah,
yes, I
yeah,
actually
and
do
then
remember. Hey, Ned, I'm old enough to have had a party line rotary
okay.
dial phone. Okay, so don't talk to me about being old. I totally get it. All right, so you moved to the great state of North Dakota, and I 100% agree with you. Like I've been there multiple times now, and when you visit there, it's like palpable. This community that they've gathered, particularly in the UAS community. And how government, academia, business, all aligned in terms and government, I said government, but like nonprofits, all aligned in terms of moving forward and so excited. So you went from to this army of one, as you call it. You decided to create Meadowlark Aircraft Company. So first of all, tell us what it is. That's first. And second, explain your basically your motivation, or your what inspired you to create it.
Um, but actually, that wasn't the first company I started in North Dakota. I started a company called Demeter Diagnostics. I come from an optics background, optical systems and magnetics, and so what we wanted to do is try to fly some of the technology that we had developed previously on an unmanned aircraft and do crop mapping and surveillance, mostly targeted at irrigation management. So you'd be competing with satellite at that time, but the other company has an active multispectral camera. By active, it means it brings its own flashlight, so that you can do waterline measurements where it would otherwise be absorbed in the atmosphere. So you can't really use solar reflection. So went around looking for an aircraft to fly and couldn't find one. Everybody had these great products and I should buy them, but they wouldn't do what I needed to do. They didn't have the endurance. They didn't have the power on board to run uh, these power hungry instruments that I wanted to use. And so I channeled my inner Elon Musk, and said, okay, if you want to have a satellite communication system, you first have to be able to launch those satellites. And
True.
so what I figured that probably what the industry could use first was an organization that would not produce specs, but listen to the clients, find out what they wanted in specs, and then be able to do that. And that's the sort of the genesis of the bespoke. We kind of borrow that from men's tailoring, but it sort of conveys the message that we build it to your specs. These are expensive aircraft. We were focusing on Group 3. So
And for those that don't know, Group 3 is more of a military categorization, I'll call it, or classification. Those are kind of that mid-size, if you will, right? You've got 4 and 5s, you're talking the Reapers and the Preds. You've got 1s, which are little handheld guys. 3s are like what? Like an equivalent would be like the Raven, I think, Ned.
Oh, I do have, yeah, I do have a slide on that, so we'll talk to that a little
Maybe we
bit.
could toss that up since we're talking about it.
Okay,
We've
yeah,
got a slide
sure.
on the different market segments. We could go ahead
Number
and put
two.
that up.
Yeah.
That'd be great. There we go. All right.
Yep.
So there
There
we
it is.
go.
Okay.
Okay. So these are the different groups that we were referring to here. And you're in that sweet middle spot.
Well, but look what happens to the max takeoff weight when you go from Group 1 to Group 2. That's reasonable, and then all of a sudden, it's from 55 pounds jumps up to 1320, and so Group 3 has FAA restrictions that are unique to it because they have to cover some pretty significantly large aircraft.
Right.
And so they are covered by, again, throwing jargon around, Part 108 FAA rules that's going to come out sometime in 2025
We
that
hope.
would govern. Go ahead.
I said we hope they will
We
come
hope,
out in
yeah.
2025, but going on.
But that would cover then operations of that class of aircraft. And so if you're musical, you probably say that there should be some sharps and flats in between those two notes, or if you like pluses and minuses. So we kind of opted to self-classify two new categories of 2+ and 3- for the type of aircraft that we want to produce. Again, I did a lot of market research as to if what we would need. And Group 2 is quite capable, 55 pounds, but for what I needed, for a lot of applications that we look at, you need to have a power plant on board that can produce a lot of electricity for some of the active sensors. If you want ground penetrating radar, if you want laser designators, you want those capabilities, you would like to have a lot more power than you could have from a Group 2 total weight. And also Group 2s are generally electric, although there are some hybrid ones. So you really need an internal combustion engine to go with it. So that would actually have the capacity to generate both the thrust that you need, but also the onboard services.
Wow.
So
I was gonna say we'll drill down into the specs on, I think the 2+ is the Strix. Am I saying that right?
Yes.
Okay, we'll talk about the Strix a lot more here in a second. But before we do, Ned, I want to ask you, because first of all, you've got a really cool tie on. People can't see it, but if you could lift it up. You showed me higher a little bit. Okay, so there's your Meadowlark tie. Love it. Now the Meadowlark logo, this bird and the name. You said there's a story behind this, so I'd love to hear what that story's about.
Well, it's the state bird of North Dakota.
Nice.
Actually, it is Western Meadowlark is the state bird, but that would be not suitable for a corporate name. So we named it after the state bird. However,
yes,
there are 5 other states that have the exact same bird. So so North Dakota, if they don't treat us nice, we have options.
But I love how you're all in with North Dakota.
Quite honestly, we just love being in North Dakota and all the support that we're getting from local and state government there.
Yeah,
so that's fantastic.
That's so cool. And I love the bird. And honestly, these birds that you're making are going to fly in a lot of different places. We're going to talk about that. But let's talk a little bit about the team you've gathered around you, because you know, like it's always the team that makes the difference. And you said you started as this army of one. You know, you were doing these kind of sensors and analytics and realized we just don't have the right platform for it. Let's go ahead and make one. And then you grabbed a handful of folks to make that dream happen. Let's talk about your corporate structure. So who are these folks, and why did you pick them?
So yeah, so maybe I say a few words about a corporate structure and then introduce these gentlemen. If you look at what it takes from soup to nuts on how to meet with a client, absorb their requirements, and then flow that down to what it would take in terms of, we say, giving your ideas flight and creating an aircraft that is bespoke. It is to client specs. There are 4 phases that we have to follow, particularly for this size aircraft. We are committed from the get-go to a digital engineering model. So we are following Department of Defense MOSA concept of modular systems. So everything starts with a design, fully digital, so we can rapidly configure the system for them. Then it goes to manufacturing. The company is all about manufacturing excellence. We see a proliferation of this size aircraft once the Part 108 comes out, and the large volumes, and then also with the secular trend towards onshoring the production, we need to bring manufacturing excellence to be able to crank these aircrafts out in a timely way. So even though they're
and in the United States, Ned, right? Like we're seeing a lot of this. We don't know what's really going to happen this year in terms of the new administration. We saw trends really in Trump version 1, we saw those continue and accelerate, frankly, with Biden. And now Trump's back in the chair. So, I think this emphasis on U.S. manufacturing, bringing technology, kind of home is going to be a big deal. And the fact that you're opening up this plant, this manufacturing capability in North Dakota, I think is spectacular. And then, of course, once you manufacture, right, somewhere along the way, you got to be testing and certifying it. That's what JC's there for, huh?
Exactly. So obviously these aircrafts are going to use the national airspace, so they have to be very safe, very reliable. And again, you're buying an expensive piece of equipment, so they also have to be capable of running for very, very long time. 7 to 10 years minimum is what we're envisioning for these aircrafts to be in service. So we actually structured an organization just to do the testing and certification, be able to, so that our clients don't have to worry about that. We're looking at clients who really don't know anything about aviation. They just have a task that they want accomplished. They understand enough to know that the task is best accomplished from surveillance above, or if you're doing package delivery using not the roads but the airways.
Yeah,
And so,
absolutely. And then, of course, you have Lee, right? Lee is, you call him your deployed system. So is he basically customer support and like what people would think of as sales, or what's Lee's role?
well, it would be post support, so post sales support. So it would be, if you look at Boeing, for example,
And maybe not the best example actually to look at after everything that's happened with Boeing last year, but
Bombardier.
Bombardier, Embraer.
Okay.
I mean, I think
Yeah,
there's
they're
yeah.
close to. I read somewhere that actually we're going to get a new state called North Dakota. I don't know if you've heard about that. And so that at that point we become South North Dakota. It would be a lot warmer. But yeah. So Bombardier, for example, they make probably 5x their revenue from service and support post sales. But you have to build a terrific aircraft that people would want to continue and then purchase the post sale support. Part 108 doesn't define a pilot training, so that's what my understanding is. So JC's team would also have that responsibility. So we would train our clients' pilots or train pilots for them. So you can actually have pilots that come with the aircraft.
Look, I think that's smart. When you've got a complex aircraft, especially an expensive one, you need to train the customer on how to best use that thing, right? So I think that's a great business model. So you've got these 4 corporate, let's call them departments, as part of your organization, some great leaders there. Let's transition to design, because I think it's a great segue. You talked about having that solid design that can last for years. And you mentioned this idea of bespoke design and manufacturing. Tell us a little bit more about that.
So yeah, look at that slide that might be helpful.
Here we go.
Yeah, this one. So if this is an unmanned aerial system, then there must be subsystems that go with it. So again, we broke down the system into 6 onboard subsystems. So the airframe itself and the control surfaces that make it fly. Propulsion and energy. Again, I said that's one of the key factors in going to this size aircraft, to have plenty of energy in addition to propulsion. The world's going into vertical takeoff and land. It's appropriate for us to do that as well. So we do have your very basic 4-copter takeoff and land capability, and then a pusher prop.
Now, can I ask you a question here? Since we're talking about energy as well, you had mentioned a combustion engine. So are you looking at alternate, people are complaining about batteries and, supply chain issues with batteries for drones, lifespan, or let's just say the flight durations that certain batteries have and the limited nature of those. Are you looking at, what, like gasoline? Are you looking at hydrogen? I mean, are you looking at other alternative energy sources for these vehicles?
Yes. So our sort of the base model is a two-stroke gas-powered engine.
Okay. All right.
So that's what's in the back. And then there's an alternator that charges the batteries. So really the batteries are only used for takeoff and landing, and hover capability if as needed. And again, the idea is that this aircraft not only rests on the wing but can hover for significant period of time when needed, and that's a capability that a lot of our customers are interested in. So.
Yeah, so I wanna just talk to you for a second more about that. So the like what I guess what we're looking at here is the Strix essentially, right?
That's
Like
right. That's
the
right.
first model that we're talking about that you're putting out.
Yes.
Number one, what's your timeline, Ned?
So we will have the capability to take orders at AUVSI in May.
Ah, okay. So your big, kind of we're really here, it's time now is going to be at Exponential.
We got big things going on at Exponential. We'll probably talk about towards the end, but and what's coming up in 2025.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. And then, as we're going to talk more a little bit about the design and then of course the manufacturing, but I want to digress in because you're talking about long durations, you're talking about a larger aircraft group 3. You mentioned early on, this kind of agricultural arena that you were working in and when you realized there was a need for this kind of vehicle. What are your target markets? Like who's your ideal customer for the Strix?
So for Strix, it would be surveillance, extended surveillance, and mapping, lower flight profiles than you might, for example, for package delivery. And so capability to fly fairly close to ground level, because many of your cameras would, in terms of resolution, there's always a resolution to coverage trade-off for a fixed field of regard, but many of the cameras work better, obviously, as you get closer. And so we would have that capability.
So Ned, when you're talking about long-range surveillance, you're thinking public safety, potentially homeland security and defense markets.
Of course, but also transmission lines, pipelines. Again,
Okay. Well, in my military brain, and when you say surveillance, I think kind of ISR, right?
Yeah,
Intelligence,
absolutely.
surveillance, reconnaissance. But you're talking about surveillance, for example, for the energy sector, critical infrastructure. So I mean, really, kind of across the board, just multi-use vehicles that you're designing. And when you talk about bespoke, and you said a customer could come to you, you don't have to reveal who they are because I know you're going to have more announcements coming down the pike in 2025. But I assume you have some folks coming to you and saying, we've been doing this for a little while and this is the gap we're seeing, and you're now working to fill those gaps.
Yes. And so, but I can tell you who they're using right now and how we would replace that. For example,
I mean, you can't, I don't know if I'll get booed or what. I might have get some hate mail, but
no, I'm not talking about other aircraft. I'm talking about, well, for example, satellite imagery is one of our bigger competitors.
Gotcha. Like SAR, synthetic aperture radar.
From the satellite, for mostly for agriculture, satellite images are basically what they call NDVI, normalized difference vegetation index, which essentially says how much chlorophyll you have in your vegetation.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, but by then, if you have chlorophyll damage, it's really not actionable, and they have it's latency of getting those images and process. So we can provide you. We're going to work with a company that's going to station these in multiple areas in the country that would service irrigation, thirsty crops, and be able to do that. So that's why we need long endurance. You have to compete with satellite coverage. But
Yeah,
we
and you're absolutely right. I only, what I know about satellite coverage in part is from working with Don Bershoff, right, at True Weather, because, a lot of the weather data comes from satellites, and there are those gaps, the satellite, as the world turns, if you will. So I want to pop up this design slide again and just quickly go through a couple of these other things, because what I noticed on here, Ned, as we put this back up, is you guys are doing control board and avionics. So you're doing your own design of avionics?
No, not
Okay,
yet.
gotcha,
So we are primarily an airframe manufacturer. So
gotcha.
what we do is work and partner with others in terms of propulsion, in terms of control boards and avionics,
And
communication links.
communications as well, communications links.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
these are all, what we do, which is probably unique to us, is payload interface. So, for example, you want to do imaging at 10 microns,
Hmm.
long wave infrared. Well, you need to have your focal plane array cooled. So we do provide those kinds of services where you couldn't go out and buy one because they're sort of one-off. But I believe that several of our clients have already asked me about that. And so, that's why we sort of separated the payload interface from the client payload. Even if the payload interface is, for example, a gimbal, we need to make sure that that's consistent with the overall aircraft design. So we do purchase those right now. Uh, but we want to influence our supply chain, and that's one of the things that I want to mention about AUVSI in Houston on the control and avionics, because we are flying a fairly large aircraft. So this aircraft is 16 feet wingtip to wingtip, so it's significantly large,
Wow.
and it's going to fly fairly low. So we need to be very cognizant of obstacle avoidance. So a lot of the detect and avoid technology right now is based on UTM guided ground-based sort of control systems with manned aircraft and which has ADS-B on board, so you can then navigate through that and make sure that you avoid collisions. We're looking at avoiding obstacles, a lot of low structures, water tanks, transmission lines, things that are more difficult to map out. They do change. And so working with AUVSI, we're organizing a workshop on trying to define a roadmap for onboard detect and avoid, so you're not limited to areas where ground-based radar is available. So we can operate this thing in Class G airspace all over the country or all over the world for that matter, right, at fairly low altitudes. The other aspect of the design is going to be noise signature, and we've worked very, very hard to manage that, and we will continue to improve on that. And next revisions of the aircraft will have significant noise mitigation. Again, because we do want to fly at fairly low altitudes, AGLs. So those are the two things that we see as needing to develop. And so we got to bring in sensor manufacturers from outside of this industry into the detect and avoid world, so we can actually do what we need to do for a large number of these aircrafts to be airworthy and be flying around and not bumping into things.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, Ned, maybe as a missed target of opportunity, I walked around CES this year in Las Vegas to kick off the year, and I cannot even tell you how many detect and avoid type sensor, and of course they're just using, avoidance or, set whatever they're calling it for ground vehicles, right? For electric vehicles, electric cars, just a ton of them at CES. And I as I walk around these things, I think to myself, this sensor could be used over here, and they're not thinking about that. And you see these stovepipes, right? As you go to these conferences where the EV people are talking to themselves, the eVTOL air taxi people are talking to themselves, the drone people are talking to themselves, and the collaboration that could happen if that all started bleeding together. Frankly, Ned, that's why I created Autonomy Global, because I see these dots and they need to be connected, including space. You mentioned space a couple times. in this call. Space has so many things emanate from space, and our lives depend on, GPS and all these other things. And space is great for certain things, but maybe not for like really high fidelity level data collection, at low altitudes, of course. So, through weather. So yeah, and anyway, I digress, but I think it's super exciting what you're doing. So you're doing a workshop on Monday, May 19th in Exponential. So everybody out there, mark your calendars. Of course, it does conflict with my Law Tech Connect, but we've got some of your folks coming as scholars to my event as well. So there's room and time and space for everybody. So that's super cool that you're doing that. Is that already on AUVSI's like co-located events page where people can sign up for that?
Not yet. So it's still, if it's on Monday, that's news to me. I think it will be on Monday, but I don't think that's been decided yet.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right. Well, maybe it won't conflict with mine. So come to mine, come to his. It's all good.
I'm make that a condition. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I do want to use this opportunity to ask people who are interested in onboard detect and avoid in particular, both in terms of sensors, but also any, for the lack of a better word, AI capacity to catalog targets and be able to look for them. But we need to define a roadmap for the industry for this size aircraft. And so hopefully we can get all of the aircraft platform manufacturers who are interested in this to join in so we can publish a joint roadmap for that technology. And the reason for that is you want to bring new entrants into the market, and they need to know that there's a market for it. And
yeah, absolutely. And by the way, I hope yours isn't the same day as mine for a number of reasons, but one is because, Ned, I'm actually also bringing a number of attorneys to this event. And when you're talking about crafting policy, many of them are not engineers, some of them are. We just had Todd Basil from GT Law, who's one of our sponsors for Law Tech Connect, on our full crew yesterday, talking about intellectual property, but he's actually a trained engineer as well, which is why he's an IP attorney. These folks are gonna be walking around the floor, and I feel like if you're talking about not only the technology, but the policy that should follow, that could be a good crowd that might want to migrate over. So let's talk afterwards and see what we can do about maybe some cross flow there. But speaking of cross flow from design, you flow right into manufacturing. I want to talk about this because you're using the term bespoke in context of manufacturing as well. So tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Let's go to the slide here. When you're trying to customize or introduce novel concepts into a base aircraft, you risk cost increases, you risk scheduling, and of course you risk that you may not be able to achieve that, particularly if a client's coming in wanting the first of a particular type of aircraft that we haven't built before, perhaps nobody's built before. And so we need to manage those risks, but we have tools.
Right.
And the tools that we have are listed on the right. And so we're actually building the company with all of that in mind, that every aircraft here, maybe not every, but maybe every bunch of aircraft is going to be made to order. And so instead of having a spec sheet, we're going to give a blank sheet to our client and say, you fill out the spec sheet that you need. We will, again, using our digital engineering tools, that same day, we should be able to actually create an aircraft for them that they could fly at our simulator in Grand Forks. And bring your pilots, bring your ideas, and we'll give them flight. And if you don't have pilots, we'll fly it for you. But that has to then translate into the manufacturing floor. And it's for us to be price competitive while offering this level of customization, we have to keep the factory full. And so we are also implementing some somewhat proprietary tools to create accurate pricing and predictable delivery times based on what we have in our factory system. And then be able to do, reliability testing in a digital format before they get out to JC, and he goes and puts them through the rigors. And so we do want to make sure that the manufacturing system is capable of absorbing the flexibility that we have in the design. And that is actually what I would say in the long run, that will be our contribution to the industry, is creating this manufacturing system that can be full, yet be flexible. And so we build variations that are easily managed through our manufacturing resource planning system, so that we can deliver an aircraft in 2 weeks to you. That's our goal. By the time you come to our
Wow,
showroom, you
that's
should have.
phenomenal.
And these aircrafts come apart in 7 pieces, and so we can ship the boxes to you 2 weeks later. Obviously, that's a stretch goal, but
Yeah.
we will get there sometime soon.
That's amazing. So you've got the FH-125 Strix that we talked a little bit about. I should know this, but I don't. What's FH stand for?
Fixed wing hybrid propulsion.
Gotcha. Okay. The fixed wing
Not very
hybrid
creative.
125 Strix. And the
And that's a takeoff
125
weight.
is, what's the 125 about?
That's a takeoff weight in pounds.
Oh, okay. All right, I get it. And you also have an FE050 maybe in the pipeline, which is okay. Is that it? It's that's electric?
Yes. And so we started out as FE, but now I think we're deciding to go RE and go rotary wing on that one. It's just so
Rotary
that
electric 050, so 50 pounder.
50 pounds, yeah.
Rotary. And then the FH fixed hybrid 300, so a big boy, also kind of on the whiteboard.
It is. That one is it's going to be a very interesting, unique airfoil. That's why we're not ready to unveil it. Maybe next year, if you invite us back next January, we would
well,
unveil
hey,
it.
you know what? You will both be in North Dakota, of course. You live there, but I'll be visiting again this October for the UAS Summit as a guest of Graham Sky. So maybe you'll have some more information then. Get you on our full crew live stream.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's super excited. So tell me about the RE, the rotary 050. So, you know, what need is that? You obviously had a customer that said we've got some on deck, but it's missing, they're missing something. What do you, yeah, go ahead.
So that's a low-cost aircraft, all NDAA compatible, for short the target use case is short distance delivery, let's say ship to shore, but not very heavy. So I think we can go up to 30 pounds on that, and about 40 minutes flight back and forth.
Okay, very cool.
That will have some interesting. Well, what makes that one interesting and not a Me Too product is some of the winching capability that the system has to lower and raise the package that would be delivered without landing. So that, and we decided to go multi-copter instead of fixed wing, is just because it's easier to hover for long enough that we need to do. So that's going to switch to RE050.
Okay, all right, very cool.
Yeah, and so, but that's to take advantage of, again, a lot of requirements for DJI or other Chinese aircraft replacement.
And you have your own manufacturing capability there in North Dakota, so that's really important. I want to before we're getting close on time, man. Time is flying. I knew it would, because you've got so much going on with your new company and all the things you've planned for this year. Let's kind of do real quick the statistical highlights of your FH-125 Strix, because that's the one coming out more, immediately. And if you could give people like a timeline, is no kidding, will you have one at the Exponential where people can kind of see and touch and feel it, and then be able to order it right there?
We would be able to take orders there. We will have our digital twin there, but we won't have the aircraft there. That's quite large.
It's giant. I know you said it. What did you say? Six? How many feet?
So come to the Hive. That's sort of the UAS facility in Grand Forks that we have our design team there. We're going to have one hanging from both that and also Groose, the 300-pounder, hanging from the ceiling there. So you can actually come to our uh, showroom and look at it eye level. We're up on the
Wow.
second floor. And so if you want to see it up close, that's probably the place to come. But yeah, we would love to engage. But you don't wait till then. We can engage with you now
Okay.
in terms of your requirements and have that conversation earlier, the better, right?
Yeah, it sounded, Ned, like you're looking obviously for customers, right? People that have these requirements. You can build to custom, custom drones, but also like MOSA, if you will, modular open systems architecture partners for some of these various pieces and parts that will go in these aircraft, so that when someone comes to you and says, "This is what we need," you're like, "Aha! I have the perfect company that we can work with on this."
So that's another actually good point to bring up here as we close, which is we also provide contract manufacturing. Again, the idea is to keep the factory full, keep the prices down. And so if somebody has a design that has been approved by Department of Defense and now they need 200 of it, that size aircraft, let's say, you're part of the replicator program, you have proven your design, now you need it produced. We could do white label as well. And so talk to us about that too.
Okay, all right. So three big things: clients, partners, and then white design kind of designers that want to leverage your manufacturing capability. Those
That's
are
right.
all, the folks that you're looking to work with. And on the customer side, a very wide range of uh, both military and commercial applications across the board. So, wow. Okay. A lot going on this year. Ned, we've just got a couple minutes. I know we covered a lot of ground here. No pun intended, because that's what your aircraft is being
I like
built
that fun, actually. I'm going to steal it.
to do. So tell us, what did I miss? What did you want to make sure that as we get ready to sign off here, that people walk away and say, aha?
Well, a couple of things. Let me just bring up that we are in the investment round of taking on investors. So if you're interested in this concept and in this industry, and we'd love to talk to you. And the other part is if you want to come and work for us. Right now, we're about 12, and we're going to grow to 220 in about 4 years' time.
Do you need
Not every,
mechanical engineers, my friend?
well, it's an aircraft, of course.
Okay,
Um,
I might have one that I might send your way.
all right, sounds
It's
good.
called my
So
oldest son.
we don't have everything posted. Some of it is when you come into a startup, you kind of have to wear multiple hats.
Yeah.
And so we're just looking for people who are actually excited about doing this kind of work and not necessarily fitting into a particular bin. But so reach out to us through our website, probably best. From time to time, we post jobs on LinkedIn, but we're going to get better at that, because if we're not be at about 30 by the end of this year, we need to start onboarding pretty quick. So those are the two things that I would add. But mostly clients, reach out to us, talk to us, let us know about your requirement, and we have onboard staff that can give your ideas flight. So that's the message.
I love that.
That's the message.
We give your ideas flight is a great tagline. And as we kind of close out, I heard 5 different kind of groups that you're looking and hoping to talk to you out of this show. Customers, partners, white label designers that want to use your manufacturing, investors, and potential employees. So, hey, everybody, if somehow you didn't fall into one of those categories, I'm not sure what you're doing out there, but this is a company that is looking to do big things this year, really grow quickly, and I think it's going to happen. So here's the other thing, everybody. Fun fact: in August, Ned and Meadowlark are sponsoring the entire month of the show, dedicated to, not surprisingly, bigger, and better. So I'm sure we'll have a lot of updates by then. Expect to see a lot happening between now and then, Ned. I wish you the best of luck, and looking forward to getting together with you and your team, of course. I know I'll see at least somebody. I think JC maybe is coming to Drone Responders in March in Williamsburg at their National UAS conference with that public safety crowd. And then, of course, see you guys in Houston at Exponential. So thanks so much for kicking off your year with us and telling everybody about your company using our platform to make these announcements, and looking forward to seeing you again soon. And everybody out there, make sure you reach out to Ned. How can they find you, Ned? You mentioned your website. Let's do that.
The website would probably be the fastest way. Yeah, there's a contact page there, and I think, well, my email is ned.tabat@macnd.com. You can just email me directly as well.
All right, very good.
There's a team that would look at the requests that come through the website. That way it won't fall through the cracks. So that'll probably be the best way.
I know what you mean. I get a lot of emails, and I'm sure there are people out there like, I emailed her and she never responded. Well, probably because I just lost it or forgot about it. But anyway, thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Thanks, Ned. We are out here.